Happy freaking New Year. How you doing out there in Interland land? How's everybody doing? Welcome to the year 2020, 1048, whatever. It just kind of feels like 2020 epilogue 4 to me. I guess that's where I'm at. But hope you're all doing good out there. How's it going, new and tasty Six House? Hey, how's it going? First stream of the year. I just decided, and this was not planned in any way. I had this in my library for a while, and it seems pretty short form, like something you could bang out in 1 or 2 sittings. And I was gonna just read it myself, but I thought, I don't know, I feel like hanging out tonight. If anybody stops by and wants to chat, that's fine. If not, that's fine too. I've been doing a lot of reading to myself out loud. I've been doing some pre-recorded Let's Plays and read-throughs over the year. We did one for 2236. We just finished up Flowers, Le Volume Serpentin. But anyway, if you're here just hanging out, you're lurking or whatever, and you just want to hang, that is totally fine. No pressure. And again, this wasn't an announced stream, so it's not like anybody had any heads up to stop by. But there is some content warnings for this game up front. I'm not sure. I don't know why these are here, but I can only assume that with the way people are fairly responsible with this kind of stuff these days, that these are things you probably want to watch out for. It's got death, violent content, animal cruelty, imprisonment, and suicide from tall places. So you're kind of just going over like the whole poly video game checklist at this point, I think. This is presented by Fornoki. I know that this was created for a game jam as well. And I do believe this was made in Ren'Py, so a lot of cool effects going on. Some very stylish art, just a very stylin'-ass menu going on here for Ren'Py. There's some, you can see the background kind of moving around. It's pretty cool too. Liking that. I'm supposing this is Alice. She's looking none too happy. But that's okay. Maybe we can fix that. I don't know that I think I already set everything I needed to in here. This even has accessibility options where you can get extra text for like audio cues, image descriptions. There's self-voicing, meaning you can turn on text-to-speech and you wouldn't have to listen to me at all, but what would the fun in that be? Clearly everybody comes to me for my lovely dulcet tones. I'm not sure what clipboard voicing means, and system cursor takes away the fancy red cursor we have, and really nice text box options and audio. This game is not voiced, so I will be reading everything out loud, which is a funny discussion that actually came up. It's a funny discussion that actually came up on Twitter the other day about me, like how I approach visual novels with voice acting, and that I leave the voice acting on and respond to it, which is weird because, you know, a lot of them are voiced in Japanese, so. But anyway. Very weird tangent, Polly. Just get to the damn point. So, let's play Who is the Red Queen? And let me get a couple of things situated here. And we do this, and we do this, and we do this, maybe? Alright. Away we go to Dreamland, or at Wonderland. Dreamland? No, that's Kirby. Alice in Kirby Land. When we are falling already. Falling. I was falling down this rabbit hole with no start nor end. I was falling. Where had I gone? Where could I go? As if I were forgetting something very important, I fell down, down, and down through a sparkling, shining darkness. Too bright to be dark, too dark to be bright. I must have been chasing after someone, after something. Like a girl whose curiosity was piqued by a rabbit with a watch. I was falling, down, 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 again. This game's writing is either going to be very, very charming, or it's going to be one of those things where I'm absolutely going to be sick of it by the end. She's very cute. She is very cute. I don't mind the writing though. Like, I played through, what was it? Child of Light. Oh, you're getting some Frank Miller, but oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I played, like, I don't mind games that, like, play with their prose a bit. I played through Child of Light. In that game, every text box was a rhyming couplet. So kudos to them for pulling it off, but I know that is, like, a major put-off for a lot of people with that game. But yeah. Frank Miller is absolutely a touchstone I'm getting here now that I'm thinking about it. This endless well seemed to lead everywhere, yet nowhere at once. Either the hole extended very deep, or I descended very slow. Was I truly even going downward? Perhaps this was all a dream, a fever dream, or in more words, a fantasy that would soon be forgotten as it was had. I held just one certainty. I was Alice. Alice was me. Now then, just how long was I supposed to keep falling? The air brushed past my fingers, my cloak ruffling upward. A quiet, humming breeze caressed my cheek. As if I could hear someone's voice, a pleasant voice, a woman's voice, I strained my ears for whispers in the wind. Alice, what a time for madness! Without a bit of fear or vertigo, should you not have focused on topics more pressing? Like the darkness or the light, or how you couldn't awaken from this dream? But even now, you were just falling. What does it matter? This is like the whole mood going into 2024. With a thump, I came upon soft grass, and the fall was over. Not a bit hurt, I forced myself to my feet. Up above my head, the firmament whence I had fell had not a tear in its blue canvas. Down about my eyes, only unfamiliar surrounded me. I started on an exploratory stroll. Oh, hey, you're cute. Everybody in this game is cute already. Soon I stumbled upon a rabbit who looked like a girl, or a girl who looked like a rabbit. Perhaps the correct answer was that she was both a girl and a rabbit. Hey, Beepner, how's it going? Hope your evening's going okay. We just met the rabbit girl. She seems very cute. In case you didn't know, she's both a rabbit and a girl. That can be a thing. That is a combination of things that a person can be. Not lingering much longer on the species of the rabbit before me, I called out to her. Excuse me. Where was this place? Why was I here? How could I leave to return home? I thought of what to ask her, but she recognized me as soon as I spoke, so my questions were lost in my mouth, unasked. Alice? Like in Final Fantasy XIV, yes! White Rabbit? Have you seen Her Majesty? Do you know where she's gone? Where she could go? Her Majesty, the Red Queen, she must be taking a vacation of sorts. I only wish that she could have left this little rabbit a note. I'm in a bit of a panic, you see. The land can't run without its queen. Please let me know if you catch a sight of her. I nodded. Who this Red Queen was, I had not a clue, but a tingling deja vu. Still, my acceptance of the request let the White Rabbit breathe out a sigh of relief. I really like that line. Who this Red Queen was, I had not a clue, but a tingling deja vu. It's very good. It's not hard to impress Polly sometimes. Just as I prepared to pose my own questions, she straightened her back in surprise. I'm afraid I have to go. I'm going to be late. The White Rabbit dashed off. I wanted to ask some questions. Never mind that. Follow her, Alice. Although I chased after her with only a moment's pause, when I turned a corner, she was nowhere to be seen. I found myself in a garden meticulously kept. Tailing the rabbit, I barely dashed a few paces. I hadn't realized such a place was so close by. Rather, I hadn't realized I had run this far. A conjecture tickled my mind that this world I fell into was a magical place, one with paths that pointed to one way, but twisted to another. What an explanation, much more far-fetched than me just not knowing where I was running. I took a moment to catch my breath. Glancing around, I began my walk about the garden. Flowers and greenery all around, but not a person in sight. This place was beautiful. I wanted to meet the person who made it. Not quite a gardening person myself, I still appreciated a pretty place and felt a swelling of excitement to explore what sights could be seen. A reminder of reality then dampened my joyful curiosity. I wanted some answers, a way out and back home. As pleasant as dreams were, one had to be able to awaken from them before they turned into nightmares. Whether this was a dream or reality had still yet to be seen. Step, step, I walked around. Hop, hop, I peered over the bushes. Soon enough, I discovered the heart of the garden where one might sit for tea. Oh God, she's cute too! Why is everybody cute? Everybody in this game is cute. This feels illegal. To amend my previous thoughts, wouldn't it be right to say that I rather also appreciated a pretty person? Hey, she's just like me! I've never related more to a protagonist in my life. Some ones in chat if you appreciate a pretty person. Frivolous thoughts flew from my mind as our eyes met. Her gaze seemed to beckon me over. So over I went to speak with her. Are you enjoying the garden? The garden is beautiful. The gardener will be happy to hear that from you. However, if you have come here now, you should be searching for something. Also, you got something wrong with your hand? Hey, she got something wrong with her hand. Right there. We should first introduce ourselves. I am the White Queen. Just like with the rabbit, for reasons unclear to me, I already knew who she was. Here, that should be as good as a name. It's her chuny arm! Isn't that usually the left arm? This would be her right arm, so... Unless she's playing a different game. Your Majesty, my name is Alice. Don't stand on ceremony, Alice. I am not someone you need to speak with particularly respectfully. Welcome to my garden in Wonderland. Wonderland. I tasted the word on my tongue. I can't remember why or how I'm here. Not this garden, but Wonderland. I was falling, and I couldn't remember why I was falling. I was simply falling, until I fell no more. I'm sure I've forgotten something very important. You needn't force yourself to remember. Some things are better left forgotten. Perhaps it was fated for you to come here. Perhaps something is missing that you must find. This world must appear like a place of dreams. You should find the Red Queen. Well, that's the game's namesake, so we are hoping we can do that. The missing queen whom the White Rabbit mentioned was the Red Queen. I waited for the White Queen to continue. She hesitated to speak of the Red Queen, as if the elusive royal would appear like a ghost behind her as she spoke. I tried to imagine what sort of person the Red Queen was. She will let you return to your own reality. When you meet her, you should be able to find all of the answers you were seeking for. As for where she is, that is for you to discover. Well, we're wearing a pretty prominent red cloak. I don't want to make any wild, brash predictions. Do you dislike her? That is a difficult question, Alice. So she's like that. I'll let you judge the Red Queen. You might learn something new about yourself. Shall I head off to find her now? Why not stay for some tea? Of course I'd love to, but it's not quite afternoon tea time yet. A later time then. Certainly, to have tea outside of tea time would not do. I won't keep you for far too much longer, Alice. I'm sure you'll be able to find that person soon enough. Until later. Later. I waved goodbye to the White Queen and departed from her garden. Glancing back, I saw her gaze linger upon me. I stepped into a twisting path in the forest. I didn't know which way to go to find the elusive Red Queen, turning left and right. To find a queen, I thought to seek a castle. However, the rabbit said that the queen was missing, so unless the rabbit had also forgotten something very important, the queen shouldn't have been at the castle. Also, I sound okay with the audio, right? Also, I'm over here on the left tonight because this part of the UI had way more space, way more empty space. And I know that this stuff over here is just UI, but I was covering that up and there's this big old empty space over here that felt like it was perfect for a plushie to fit in. So that's where I put me. The Red Queen. She seemed like a troubling person. The way the White Queen's face froze, tongue stuttering along at the topic of the Red Queen, made me wonder, was the latter queen a tyrant or a fool? Insert you anywhere. I put you over here. If you were out, I would like put you right over here. We will probably have a game. I will probably have to put you on my screen sometime this month. Because I do believe that there is a game coming out by one Sigyod team that I think me and you are going to have to get to. I understand kissing may be involved this time around. The tutor at home liked to talk about kingship of the sort. To me, either or neither were fine. After all, who were the peasantry to affect the mood of a high queen? I hummed and walked along with a skip in my step. Just as I reached a rhythm of my stride, I kicked a little something. An animal? Oh no! That threw me off my beat. Gosh darn, don't you hate it when you're skipping through the woods and you kick a fucking rabbit? Shit! I slowed to applaud, my mood a note dampened. Soon I heard the chatter of a girl a few trees away. Seeing not much civilization here in the forest, I followed the voice of the girl. Although she was chatting, I heard her voice alone. Hey, look at that! Why is everybody in this game cute? Everybody! Like, we're just straight up not missing on character designs here. They're all good. You're gonna be the Hatter, aren't you? That's just a Ruby character. I don't watch Ruby, so it still gets to be cool to me. I don't know jack and or shit about Ruby. Who is also an Allen's reference, so whatever. I mean, that's not surprising. Like, there's so much popular media that pulls inspiration from Alice in Wonderland that I'm not exactly surprised. Neo's a mute psycho villain. Gotcha. Well, I like this design, and I'm always a big fan of girls with hats. I passed by a few bushes and soon enough found a tea party in the middle of nowhere. At a table set before a tree sat the girl. Hello there, Alice. What did you come here for? Her chatter ceased. Her mismatched eyes pierced through me in its place. There's no room here at the table, so don't take a seat. No room! No room! She moved the puppets on her hand, a sleepy mouse and a mad hare. Looking right to left, I could barely see the ends of the table set for tea. One person is such a large space. Conversely, she almost seemed lonely. There's plenty of room, Hatter. To make my point, I took a seat in a large armchair across from the Hatter. The chair stunk of flowers as if to clear away... It stunk of flowers? Stunk of flowers? I don't know. I'm not going to be the one sitting here to question anybody's prose, because I think the prose, despite being very inspired, has been pretty okay so far. To make my point, I took a seat in a large armchair across from the Hatter. The chair stunk of flowers as if to clear away the shadow of an unpleasant previous sitter. Maybe Rafflesia. Yeah. I sank back into it immediately. Then I kept sinking before I jolted back up with a shallow gasp. Three's plenty of crowd. That's rude of you to say, Alice. Not very civil of you to sit down without being invited either. But whatever, let's just treat you as our extra guest for tomorrow. Not today? Aren't they the same? Yesterday, today, tomorrow. Every day is never a day different, but since I'd rather not deal with it today, we just treat it as if for tomorrow. Dormouse and March don't mind. You mentioned 3, but I only see 1. She wiggled the puppets on her hands as if to explain everything. 1 was herself, 2 was the first puppet, 3 was the second puppet. I'm scared Alice might be blind. That's the side effect of being Alice. Don't worry. It's just a side effect of being Alice. The pitch of her voice warped. Don't mind her comments. She's Dormouse. And he, Marsh Hare. She paused as if waiting for me to greet the animal puppets. I waited. She waited. The silence of the conversation bored me, so I relented to the Mad Hatter's wordless request. I was their guest for tomorrow, so a polite guest I decided to be. Well, hello there. I was scared she was deaf as well. Hello there, Alice. Between the puppets, well, now I've got to move myself back over because the puppets actually appear on the left-hand side. Hold on. We're going to do this in real time. Look at me. I'm being a professional. Hey, Garden! How's it going, Garden? Hope you're doing well. Yeah, I like that. Like, as soon as Alice acknowledged the hand puppets, they started appearing on the left-hand side of the UI. So I'm gonna go ahead and just put me back over on the right. Gosh, you try to spice things up a little bit. This is what it gets you. Thanks, game developers. I felt some pity, as that meant that March Hare would speak more. What were we talking about before? A riddle? Maybe it was this one. Why is a raven like a writing desk? Do you have an answer to that riddle? You're no fun, Alice. Relax and have some wine. There is no wine? And there is no wine? You were invited for tea tomorrow, Alice. It is the obligation of the host to offer a guest a drink at tea time. Maybe she was an alcoholic. Hatter, I can't in good faith call this time of day tea time, nor can I call alcohol tea. Details. Add some butter. It'll be tea time eventually. It'll also be 10 p.m. later. It'll be tea time eventually, so it's tea time now. We're having tea, so it might as well be tea time, don't you think? Long Island iced tea, let's go! What did you come here for anyways? Although I couldn't quite say that I had come to this tea party with a goal in mind, I figured I might as well tell her. I'm searching for the Red Queen. Her brow contorted as she took a sip of her tea. Puppet sat down for just that moment. Dumping the tea away and rinsing the cup, she poured herself another drink. Oh, her. Long Island's okay. Joker isn't it a bit late? Long Island should be a lot more disgusting and less. Yeah, okay. Yeah, you're not wrong. The Hatter placed her lips on the rim of her teacup and stared at me. A minute passed, all 60 seconds consisting of staring, before she ducked down under the table as if to find an item. She popped back up again. You trying to check out Alice's panties? Is that what's going on here? Don't think I ain't seen that move before. I have seen a lot of anime and played a lot of visual novels. They animated it, I love it! Stay and chat for a moment. I'll help you with a little something regarding Her Majesty. The Hatter poured me a cup of tea and slid over a plate of sandwiches. The plate hurtled toward me, forcing me to hurriedly grab it lest the sandwiches spilled all over my lap. Luckily, the cup of tea arrived much more calmly. I took a taste, finding Earl Grey. Is it tomorrow already? At the very least, it wasn't time for afternoon tea. If I'd known that I would have tea now, I would have stayed a little longer to have some with the White Queen as well. It was not that people couldn't have tea outside of afternoon tea, but it was a principle of things. If people drank tea any time of day, everything would be all higgledy-piggledy. I sipped some more, enjoying the citrusy flavor of this black tea. Today is tomorrow for yesterday, don't you think? Unless she doesn't think, that would have been rude of you to ask. Why don't you just let the chips hit the fan? She's just normal. Orthogonal? I'm certainly sitting up quite straight. But regarding the Red Queen, do you have some news about her? I'd say I have some business with her instead. Something to do with meat and flesh and all the other red things that a Red Queen might have to do with. That ominous. That is very, very ominous. Aren't you a hatter? Yes. Not a butcher. Unless the meat is made out of hats. While talking about all things unappetizing, I took a bite out of the sandwich filled with an ambiguous color. A milky sweetness melted in my mouth. I tasted some sort of fruit inside. Maybe it was a mango, or a kiwi, or a strawberry. Satisfied with the pleasant sweetness, I took another sip of tea. This tea and these sandwiches are delicious. Thank you, Alice. You made them? Compliments to you, then. Wow, much flattery. Since you've put me in a good mood, I guess we can go ahead with Her Majesty's matter. In fact, she's been sitting here with us the whole time. This is a look. This is definitely a look. Okay. I sat up even straighter in confusion. Glancing around, I saw no queens in sight, not a human nor animal besides the two of us here. Tuck that shirt in, too. Yeah, probably needs to do that. Madness is no excuse for a lack of style. The Hatter rolled a chair over and pulled a cloth from over the chair's holdings. Ta-da! Oh! Uh-oh. This is Higurashi or Umineko blood splatter. I bet this is just... Because this is a free visual novel, by the way, so they could do that. But this looks... I mean, all blood splatter could just look the same, really. But this really looks like it might have been nicked from Higurashi. I don't know. No! Not that it matters. It's not like me and John didn't rip off a bunch of assets for her lullaby or anything. It's the Higurashi splat. Okay, it looks like it to me. It was the Higurashi or the Umineko blood splatter. The blood splat rating system. There's a reference nobody will get. On the chair sat a chunk of meat dressed up in tattered human clothes. Still dripping red, the flesh seemed to ripple, undulating. Was it rotting, or was it still alive? My head spun as I squinted at the thing. No wait, that was the guy with the wacky face. This thing resembled a human torso. With half a neck and chopped off limbs, dolled up with what could have been fancy clothes, this was surely human flesh. I sensed an odd familiarity to the torso, but also felt as if I was looking at it from an incorrect angle. This was the torso of a regal woman. This was raw human flesh. This is the Red Queen? An inappropriate question flitted across my mind. Could we consider it as sitting if it didn't have legs? I suppose, yeah. I'm glad that we went over that. I was wondering the same thing. But it got legs. Does it have if it's sitting on a butt, because if you take the legs off, it doesn't necessarily mean you got rid of the butt. So if there's because I think the butt is the operative body part in sitting. I don't think legs are necessarily required. I would be interested in hearing chat's opinions on this very complex topic. What is a butt if not just an extension of the legs? Okay, that's a solid argument. A solid argument. Yeah, I think that the ugly the ugly dismembered human torso does qualify as sitting. And if that gets me canceled, so be it. What if you had legs and no butt? You would be like Rayman, wouldn't you? That feels like what? Yeah, that feels like a Rayman thing. I thought you said you weren't a butcher hatter. We definitely couldn't consider this a hat. Having just eaten, the strawberry taste in my mouth turned into a meaty texture like raw pork. I could almost taste sweet, rotten fat. I swallowed. I wondered if the hatter wanted to make me sick. Yes, I'm a hatter. I closed my eyes and rubbed the bridge of my nose. Too distracted by the surprise, the feeling of my fingers almost felt like wet ground meat, even though I was sure that my digits were still attached to my palm. The image lingered uncomfortably behind my eyelids, not with disgust, but with another inexplicable emotion, a negative one for sure. I looked at the torso again, and it seemed so still. I saw exposed bone and a shattered trachea. The cut must not have been wholly clean, made with a blade, sharpened not quite enough, yet also dulled not quite enough. Mr. Larity loves his button code monkey. That is right. Yeah, I mean, it's not a turn that I didn't expect, because when you boot the game up, there's just a whole litany of content warnings that say, hey, this game's really violent. There's like some suicide. There may be some depictions of animal cruelty, imprisonment, suicide. There's a little bit of everything. So it was to be expected. I knew that there was going to be, isn't that like what all Alice in Wonderland retellings are these days? It's like, oh, hey, it's Alice in Wonderland, but violent. And I feel like, the Alice games by American McGee kind of are still like the best version of that. American McGee's Alice and Alice Madness Returns. There's a game I think I want to play on stream sometime. Madness Returns is amazing. One has been a Tom Petty. Yeah. I've seen a Tom Petty video. Yes, I know what you're talking about. I saw exposed bone and a shattered trachea. The cut must not have been wholly clean, made with a blade, sharpened, not quite enough yet, not dulled enough. Yes, this was the Red Queen. I knew not why I knew, but a voice in the back of my head told me that this was the Red Queen. A part of the Red Queen. I'm afraid Her Majesty can't speak right now. The Hatter stirred her tea and popped a bite-sized sandwich into her mouth, munching happily. Don't look like that, Alice. The Hatter didn't dismember Her Majesty. Yes, Hatter is innocent. Since only the Hatter spoke up in defense of herself, I wasn't particularly inclined to believe her. I, the Mad Hatter, have conducted a thorough investigation and have determined that I, the Mad Hatter, had nothing to do with this. Since only the Hatter spoke up in defense of herself, I wasn't particularly inclined to believe her. But whether or not she did kill the Red Queen, the end result sat before me. What should I do now? I murmured my uncertainty, this dead end aloud. What do you mean? All you have to do is find all the other pieces. If you have anything you need Her Majesty for, all you need to do is just put her back together. Just put her back together, forehead. That's easy enough to figure out. Have you forgotten, Alice? That sounded mad. So mad I wanted to laugh. This is Wonderland after all. All I needed to do was find the pieces. That was right, Alice. That was all you needed to do. It would either be terribly simple or terribly hard. I hoped that no one had fed the Red Queen to the pigs or minced her up for a patty. Regardless, all I really needed was a head and a torso if I wanted to talk to her, to ask her about the secrets to returning home. May I take this body with me? Alice, you were a civilized girl. Did you really want to lug around a piece of meat like you were some meal setter? Like some meal seller? Selling to the cannibals? No. That wouldn't be fair, don't you think? Once you find most of her parts, let's just say the limbs, I'll give you a special present and help you out again. She patted a box off to the side of the table. The box was just big enough for a cat or a cake or maybe something like a hat. Of course, don't peek or try to find out what the present is. It wouldn't be a surprise like that, and I'll be very, very upset if you cheat. With that smile on her face, I couldn't see her upset. Only muddled sincerity came from her voice. Now then, I've got to grab something off the stove before it burns. The Hatter got up from her seat and walked away. Here I was alone with the Red Queen's flesh. It was missing all 4 limbs and a head, so to make her whole, I would need to find 5 parts. It was just like Castlevania. What's in the fucking box? I hoped that my search would be easy. Oh, we get choices. Choices. People make choices. People make choices when they're sick. I think we know what we're gonna do, right? I think we know what we're gonna do. Chad knows what I'm gonna do. We want to find out what's in the box, don't we? We want to know. We deserve to know. I tiptoed over to the other side of the table and surveyed what was around. I couldn't help but feel like the headless slab of human watching me, but I ignored the Red Queen's body, knowing that I would be seeing it often enough. Looking over my shoulder, I ascertained the Hatter had yet to return. I moved to find the present box on the cluttered table. The Hatter hadn't tied the box particularly at all. I could open and close it as if it had never disturbed this mysterious prize to begin with. I cracked open a small gap so that nothing would come flying out. Nothing escaped from the box. Instead, I heard a strange, strangled noise from whatever lied inside. A gurgling, drowning voice that caused chills to settle on the back of my neck. In one go, I took the lid off the box. Inside was a head. A bloodied head. The head seemed so familiar, but I couldn't quite make out the face, as if the box had been jostled. I squinted. Yo, I think that's our head. Spinning. The world was spinning! A sharp pain burst through my temple, and I rested a palm on my head to stop a growing, pulsing headache in my skull. I reached out, shaking a hand to adjust. A shaking hand to adjust the head in the box. Step, step, step. Footsteps interrupted me. I thought I only just said not to peek, Alice. The Hatter brandished a hammer in her hand, the head and face a glowing red as if it had been left on the stove. Cheaters get what cheaters deserve. I backed up, crashing into the table, nearly tripping on my own cloak. She raised her arm with the hammer in hand and... crack! Dead end, y'all. Thanks, Garden, you got me killed! That's 10% of the game, I guess. Alright. Alright, who's the Red Queen? Let's try that again. Let's try now. Without Taylor's bad influence on me. Shit! Without Garden's bad influence on me. Alright, we're gonna do the good thing this time. We are gonna listen to the Hatter. We're gonna be a really, really good Alice. I shook my head. Instead of agonizing the Hatter needlessly, I decided to take another sip of tea. I would see what was inside the box eventually. The Hatter returned soon enough. In her hand was a hammer, glowing bright with heat. She chuckled. She chucked it to the side with a thump and let the metal sizzle on the ground. Just in case! What was that hammer for? Does a hammer need a reason to be? Anyways, go ahead and try to find some of the Red Queen's body. An arm, a head, or maybe two. Just bring them back here for me to attach this. Give me a second. Saying this, she casually tossed aside a large rock. Anyways, go ahead and try to find some of the Red Queen's body. An arm, a head, or maybe two. Just bring them back here for me to attach to this. She pointed toward the torso. It'll still be tea time when you come back. Let's just count you as an extra guest for the next tomorrow as well. To be exact with time, now was not tea time. I suppose there's not much else to do here. I looked at my empty cup of Earl Grey and lifted myself up from the armchair. For what it was worth, I quite enjoyed this odd hour tea. Shaking my legs just to make sure they hadn't fallen asleep, I started to leave. Until later. I'm not gonna speak German and make myself sound stupid. She leaned back into her chair and made a lazy wave my way. Somehow, she looked lonely. I returned to another forest path, walking forward and forward. After moving for a while, I realized that I had no idea where I was going. In simpler words, I was lost. I walked around in a few circles before looking upward. Above, I saw a cat. Das Boo. That's when you get scared. That's only when you get scared or want to scare somebody in German. Hello, it's the Cheshire Cat. She's kind of cute too. Okay, you're the Cheshire Cat, and you are gonna likely speak in a manner that is gonna annoy the ever-loving shit out of me, aren't you? A cat cat who resembled a girl, or a girl who resembled a cat, leisurely stood on the tall branch of a tree. Or it might even be more fitting to say it was both a girl and a cat. Not feeling this one as much. Yeah, I don't know. She's cute, but not quite like I think that everybody we've seen so far, A rank. She's maybe not bringing her best game to the table here. A cat who resembled a girl, or a girl who resembled a cat, leisurely stood on a tall branch of a tree. Unlike the white rabbit, this cat, the Cheshire cat, I couldn't help but wonder if she was actually neither cat nor a girl and was just pretending to be either. I met her cat eyes nodding in silent greeting. Her grin stretched across her face as she stared right back. Sharp teeth filled her mouth and claws adorned her hands. This was probably a cat. Cat. She's a kitty cat. And she dance, and she dance. Cheshire. The flame that was her tail flickered, and she hopped down to meet me closer. I don't suppose you'd tell me which way I should go. I posed a silly question that I expected no answer for. After all, I was asking a cat for directions. Depends on the where you want to go. To my surprise, I received a response. To find the Red Queen. Ah, the crazy one. Are you sure you'd prefer not to go with the nice one? The one I'm searching for is the Red Queen. All right, the Mad Queen. Then again, we're all mad around here. This is except for Her Majesty, the White Queen. She's too sad to be mad. If you're looking for the Red Queen, up, down, left, right might help. Okay, all right, you know what? I'm okay with Cheshire Cat now. Me and Cheshire Cat can be homies. Yeah, video game's good. All right, everybody, we did it. We have confirmed that the video game's good. Yo, Ghosty! Ghosty, it is what? It's like 4 a.m. for you. What are you doing? What are you doing? Not that I am not happy you're here, obviously. I'm more than happy to see you. I am more than happy to always see you here. Wait, am I the one that's wrong? Is it somehow like 10 a.m. here and 4 p.m. there? Is that like, did I accidentally like hit some kind of weird time slipstream or something? You just got up, you know what? That's actually not a terrible, like considering how bad your sleep schedule's been. I think that like being up at 4 in the morning, so long as you did get some sleep, that's probably okay. And that's probably gonna help you get at least somewhat back on track. I hope you had a good sleep though. Yeah, we are reading an adaptation of Alice in Wonderland. We're looking for the Red Queen, but she's been turned into meat and we're trying to find her body parts. This is a free VN that I've kind of had on the old to-do list for a while, and I was feeling like reading something tonight. Yeah, like, I understand. Yeah, like, Ghosty's been having an exceptionally rough time with sleep lately. She slept 18 hours yesterday, but but it was at the wrong time. But yeah, welcome. Yeah. I don't know how much longer I'm gonna be going, but yeah, we just been chilling out here, reading some Alice in Wonderland adaptation. All right, so if you are looking for the Red Queen, up, down, left, right might help. Self-awareness, Alice, self-awareness. The Cheshire Cat vanished into thin air. Soon enough, she reappeared. Just go to the White Queen instead. Maybe you'll find something on the way. She started to fade away again before popping back. I forgot to ask, how's the Hatter doing? She seemed to be fine. It's still tea time over there. It's always tea time with that one. A third time she disappeared, having a grin lingering in the air, leaving a grin hanging in the air before she too vanished. This was a grin without a cat instead of a cat without a grin. Kick red meat, go with the other white meat. The third time was the charm. The cat did not return. I can't say I've seen a cat quite like that before. I would have just stopped that line at that. I can't say I've seen a cat quite like that. Given how this prose has been written, I really would have just stopped at that. Then again, Cheshire wasn't really a cat. Alright. Let's see here. We'll go ahead and do the visual novel thing. I think we're gonna go up, up, down, down, left, right, because I want to do the Konami code. I tried to remember just what the Cheshire Cat had said, speaking the pattern of the directions allowed to a beat. Up, up, down, down, left, right. I felt as if I had missed a few items, but that was all that the cat had given. I backtracked to the position where I met the cat and followed the recommended directions. Soon enough, I found myself at a crossroad. I saw no limbs nor heads in sight. Left was labeled right, right was labeled left, which with wrongly written signboards I chose at random on where to go next. Every few meters I found a new signboard with its own quaintly marked arrow. Whether or not they led to the right place was another issue. I slowed my pace to read the signs and followed them along. Today is a rainy day. I didn't know which genius thought to put a forecast onto a wooden sign on the side of the road, but I followed the direction to go right regardless. The sky had not a drop of rain in sight. Warning, cliff ahead. As it happened, neither was there a cliff ahead. Watch out for dragons. I looked for the dragons, but the dragons did not arrive. Shameful. At some point, the text on the signs turned to insults. Fool. You don't even know who you are. Stop following these signs. How many of these will you read? I walked and walked and walked. At the end of the final sign was a chain. I reached a clearing in the forest where I spotted the white rabbit talking with a limb. Useless Dark Souls signs. Yeah, that's pretty similar to what you get in Dark Souls, yeah. Your Majesty's left arm, please. I blinked, then I blinked again. Rubbing my eyes, I saw the same image. Yo, we got an arm! We did it! The white rabbit seemed just about to prostrate herself to a living, moving arm. The arm, despite being an arm, had taken the higher position. The ground here is dirty. You needn't crawl here. Shall I take you back to the palace, or would you prefer to go to the garden or the courtroom? In fact, do you happen to know where Her Majesty is? The arm smacked the white rabbit. Although I silently observed, the arm noticed me and began to crawl over, one handful of grass at a time. That is a kind of a disturbing imagery. Not gonna lie. It moved like a snake, like a worm, like a piece of flesh and bone that shouldn't have been able to move. Its writhing struggle sent a shiver up my spine. I didn't know if I should pick it up or kick it away. I did neither and reached my feet. The arm proceeded to climb up my leg, up my cloak, clinging like some sort of dirty parasite, making its slow way up until it pushed past my building disgust to hold it with my hand instead. The flesh felt cold in my palm. I sensed no heartbeat in the wrist. Alice, Her Majesty's arm seems to have taken a liking to you. If you find Her Majesty, please return the limb to her and tell her that her rabbit did her best. I pray she hasn't met any trouble. I'm gonna say the queen's probably A-okay if her arm is just out crawling in the middle of the forest. It's probably fine. A limb coming off isn't an everyday occurrence. She made quite the understatement. Yes, of course. How did you know if it was the Red Queen's arm? I would recognize Her Majesty's limbs anywhere. Do you admire her that much? Yes, of course. I respect Her Majesty very much. She united Wonderland into this kingdom and kept peace with a watchful gaze on the criminal populace. She is a decisive ruler and holds an agreeable worldview. That should be her divine right to rule Wonderland. I've heard a cat call her mad. A dangerous expression flashed through the White Rabbit's eyes for barely a second. The Cheshire Cat is a known problem element here. If Her Majesty is mad, then such madness is in essence brilliance. Although I may not always be fated to be a favored courier, to be an aid to her is my greatest honor. I cannot be White Rabbit without Her Majesty. Yes, that should be how I view Her Majesty. I gave the rabbit's impromptu speech a short round of applause, balancing the detached arm in the crook of my elbow. The rabbit became flustered. She must also like you very much. All rulers had their dissidents and supporters. A certain man once said that a ruler was better feared than loved if she could not be both. Despite all that the White Rabbit said, I knew little more about the Red Queen. The Red Queen is the ruler of all this land? What is your job, White Rabbit? Yes, she is the highest ruler of Wonderland. I deal with a little bit of everything: administrative matters, legal matters, and the personal matters of important people. Well, since we've met a few times, you could say that I'm important, couldn't you? That's right, Alice. To my tepid jest, I received a response that made me pause. The White Rabbit took out a watch and jumped in surprise upon looking at the time, quickly returning the watch to her pocket. What time is it already? I'm afraid I must be off again, if that will be all. Thank you, Alice. Hurriedly bowing a few times, she dashed back off to work. We didn't even get like a cool Zelda jingle for obtaining the arm. That is not Zelda. Before I knew it, the day passed. I looked toward the sky where the sun had begun to set. Letting out a yawn, I realized I needed a place to sleep for the night. I had thought back to the parties who had helped me onto my adventure to gather the Red Queen's dismembered parts. Surely I could find one of them. Well, we're gonna get a lot of choices here. Play the chimes from Smashing Pumpkins Disarmed. Yes.
Killer me is the killer you.
Everybody's got it.
Killer me is the killer you.
Everybody's got a good Billy Corgan. You just gotta get real nasally and throaty with it. And be as pompous as you possibly can be. I headed back to the Hatter's place. As before, I found her at the table, full of tea stuffs. Tea stuffs! That's a fun word! I've never seen it before. You're always down for Corgan slander? As before, I found her at a table full of tea stuffs. She nursed a cup of tea and waved at me upon spotting me. Tea stuffs. I'm like saying that in my head to like the same intonation as D's nuts. I don't know if that was the intention, but that's where my brain went with it. Just in time for tea, Alice. From the sky, From the sky, tea time should have already passed. Perhaps this was more like supper time, so I only flashed her a smile without saying anything. I returned with the limb. Congratulations! I handed her the Red Queen's limb, which began to move upon entering the Hatter's hand. Holding it away from herself, the Hatter seemed to think of what to do with it next. She kicked the dog cage out from under a chair. Clicking the metal latch open, she tossed the limb into it and quickly flicked the cage shut again. Why wouldn't you, put it back on the body, maybe? It's dark at 4 p.m. Damn, Winter. I think it actually is, dark at 4 p.m. with Rhett, because he's, literally on the east of the United States. He's all the way up there. So, yeah, I think, at 4 o'clock in the winter, it, gets super dark there already, so... Sit down. I'd be a poor host if I didn't let you sit. I plopped down into the armchair. This was my chair now. I glanced around and found I didn't see the 2 puppets that the Hatter wore on her hands earlier in the day. Where are your friends? I gestured with my hands. They've gone home for a bit. March lives all the way over there in a house with ears. As for whose ears they are, I haven't a clue. Are you hungry for rodent, Alice? No, not really. If you say so, Alice. She poured me a cup of tea and slid the teacup and saucer over to me, nearly spilling it all over my lap. Soon after came another plate. On the plate was steak and vegetables. Cool, are we gonna eat more queen steak? I should hope this isn't rodent, is it? It's something else. I don't like this look at all. This is not a good look at all for the connotations and the context of this conversation. The Hatter didn't continue, but glanced over at the Red Queen's flesh. My eyes followed the path of her gaze. Not spotting any steak-sized slabs of meat sliced off from the torso of the queen I sought, I let out a sigh. Taking a knife and fork, I cut the steak and moved a piece to my mouth. It tasted like beef. Compliments to the chef. Why, thank you. We ate together. For a Hatter, her table manners with the forks and knives were impeccable. But each time I thought to compliment them, she went and said something odd again. The Hatter was a mystery to unravel. I don't have a place to stay for the night, so I wanted to ask if you would put up with me for the night. I put up with you all the time. What difference does it make? Where I come from, people sleep at night. Sleep? You could sleep underneath the table or spread a blanket on the ground and just sleep in that armchair you're sitting in now. Isn't sleep just when you pretend to be dead like everyone else? Is this why you don't sleep? The Hatter had terrible bags under her eyes. I doubted she slept too much. She could only have been sleeping too little. Look at the time. It's already time to sleep. Is it already time to sleep? Napping at tea time, I will destroy your inner clock, don't you know? Pay attention, Ghosty. Morning, afternoon, evening. Since it's all tea time, it's better not to sleep. I thought you didn't care about time. Time doesn't care about me. Are you perhaps afraid of sleeping? What do you think, Alice? She poured herself a drink from a bottle into her teacup. I turned to look at the bottle, which was in no way for tea. I couldn't read the jumbled words scrawled across the label, so I couldn't help but ask. Is that actually alcohol? Tea. Isn't it alcohol? Tea. She drank her tea, and I did mine. The conversation turned to silence. I shouldn't have pushed and upset my dear host. I wanted to pet her head and apologize, for she could drink or sleep as she wanted. As I reached out, the Hatter recoiled. No touchy! She pushed her chair back from the table, taking the chance to move away. Then she dipped underneath the tablecloth, rummaging through her stuff with a rustling noise. When she popped back out, she held a blanket, which she tossed my way. Didn't you want to pretend to be dead right now? Go, play dead. Catching it in my arms, I smelled a sweet scent from the soft blanket. The sky was dark. I started to feel sleepy, hugging the blanket a little tighter. I had experienced a long day after all, so perhaps it was time to go to bed. Good night, Hatter. I wondered if she was mad, if she would respond, but she did. Good night, Alice. I leaned back comfortably in the armchair and began to sink. Sinking. Contrary to my earliest expectations, I didn't keep sinking forever. The moment I looked up at the sky, I found I couldn't fall asleep anymore. This is very nice. I didn't recognize the stars, the constellations that adorned the dark heavens, tracing their infinite sparkles. I wondered what they stood for, who they stood for. I wanted to understand what was hidden past those mismatched eyes of the Hatter. While counting the stars, I eventually fell asleep. All right. I dreamt of falling. All right. That's a good place to call things for tonight. That was really interesting. I think that was actually pretty good. Despite being what I'm sure is to be, oh, look, it's a really dark version of Alice in Wonderland. I think this might be okay. The art is cute, but the writing is a bit, especially descriptions. Please make better use of verbs, writer, person. Yeah, like the writing is either going to like work for you or it isn't. Like it's very much trying to mimic like fairy tale style. It's trying to sound very flowery. Like there was a whole bit when we started with falling, you know, so it's very Frank Miller-y. So yeah, I don't hate this so far though. I think it's been pretty pleasant. This is not the worst way that I've spent an hour just kind of firing up a stream and seeing, hey, let's check out a video game. It's certainly turning out, I mean, it's certainly making a better impression than Twilight Town did. Oh boy. I mean, I'm pretty sure I'll finish this one. I probably won't quit this one like literally 30 seconds from the ending out of anger. All right, who's streaming? We're gonna toss this little host, this little raid off to somebody who be streaming. Looking. You'd watch this again? Well, I will probably be streaming it again. If not tomorrow, then I'll be doing it the night after. Let's go over to Zoiteki. We're gonna go watch Zoiteki bop some nerds in Grand Blue Versus. They seem to be having a good time, so we're gonna go over and say hi to Zoiteki. Everybody give Zoiteki a follow. Has an amazing model. Some fun redeems. It's playing a very cool fighting game. And we'll be back next time. Just watch the old Twitter. Watch the going live channel in the Discord, and you'll see when I go live. I didn't really plan this stream, and I'm glad I did it because I think we got a cool little game on our hands. So we'll catch you next time. You guys have a nice rest of your evening. Bye bye.